Hello guys and welcome, it is ThatSrb2DUDE here today, bringing you yet another commentary video, or a dude rant if you'd like to call it. Now, this is good. I'm just going to give you guys just a brief overall view of what I think of the the last patch, the 2.8 patch, and just, you know, give a couple of my thoughts of it. I was going to make one of those big update videos of like what's in the patch and how is this gonna change, how this is gonna change, and how this is gonna change. Honestly, I just feel like all the weapons that are in this patch are just gonna change the meta completely. So literally, that's all I need to really say, because if you see some of the kits that work so well with other types of compositions, it's really big. And then, like, in a competitive environment or in tournament play for Splatoon, I can see there's just going to be a lot more different. Well, there's going to be a lot of different comps that can be utilized really well on different maps and modes. So that is pretty much my overall view of it, because you got like weapons like the the new NZAP, you got the new Sploosh, you got the remix Heavy. I mean, first of all, the new NZAP and the new Sploosh can be somewhat of replacements for the the average go-to 10 attack, which pretty much you'd see in literally every single composition, mainly because the 10 attack is just a really solid weapon and that's why people use it. But there's now more reason for using other weapons like the NZAP and the Sploosh, mainly because the new Sploosh is basically the same as the 10 attack, except its fire rate is a lot faster, but you need to be a lot more closer up, and it has a higher damage output. So on maps like Blackbelly and Flounder Heights, you know, if a Sploosh is close enough to a 10 attack, it's going to be winning the fight every single time. So it's basically another great pick for it. And also you got weapons like the NZAP, which have almost the same range as a 10 attack, except you also have a Kraken. So on like game modes like as tower control, you can put more objective work, or a more consistent front line roll when pushing the tower. And it's just because of the Kraken, and the point sensor, of course, is also a really great help to just locate people. And you're most likely not going to have to run Echo as much because you got that point sensor. So yeah, basically what my view is that in terms of doing team compositions for competitive gameplay, it's going to be a lot different. Like, I like how they've done it. It's like all these weapons, they have a purpose now. So thank you very much, Nintendo, by the way. Now let's get into the main thing that I wanted to talk about for this commentary, and that is the idea of actually maining weapons in Splatoon. Now, I'm not going to think any less of you if you do this or have been doing this. I mean, I know for a fact that this idea of I have to use this one weapon and one weapon only on every single map and mode, and it's going to work all the time. Now, I'm just saying, the only reason why this has actually come about in Splatoon is because, of course, many of the players that have been playing Splatoon have all come from Smash Bros. And in that game, that's where people actually do main this particular character and use in every single time. And honestly, that idea of, in just my opinion, isn't always the best way to go in Smash Bros, and of course never in Splatoon. Like, talking about the top players in Smash Bros, they all have this one character that they're most comfortable with and they can use in pretty much all situations. But they also do understand that there are other characters that do counter this. So they would have a secondary that can make their next match a lot easier to bear with. Now in Splatoon, in competitive compositions, you would always have a standard like charger player or blaster player majority of the time, but sometimes it's mostly a different blaster, which is fair enough. But charger player, I completely understand if you specialize in this type of category, because this is the type of category that you have to be very consistent in, because if you're missing your shots, I mean, you're not going to be effective at all. Literally, you could be the best player that ever lived if you never missed a shot as you're playing as a charger. So that weapon, I could honestly say, yeah, sure, you could main that. Every single other weapon, I generally don't feel that you should make it your primary weapon for every single map and mode, because of course it's not going to work all the time. For an example, say so we have 4 players. We have one that mains a Sploosh, one mains the regular L3 nozzle nose, another one that mains a Sploosh, and one that mains the Squiffer. So the map and mode is Splat Zones on Camp Triggerfish. Now, the particular weapons that I've picked, I've purposely picked these weapons because I know for a fact that these weapons on this map and mode is probably one of the worst choices. On this particular map and mode, range is so important. So weapons like the Splattershot Pro, the Jet Squelcher, the Heavy Splatling, and of course an Elia, of course, will have a large advantage because on this particular map, because of the way the map is laid out and because like everything is just like a straight road and there isn't really too much on the road, it's just that if you come across someone with range on this map and you're just a sploosh player or a player that doesn't have a lot of range on this particular map, you're not going to have the greatest time, honestly. Because you're going to have a really hard time if this person knows how to really utilize their weapon correctly. And, you know, it's just not the greatest pick. Now, a lot of people can argue back with me and say, oh, but dude, you only use this one weapon. Well, first of all, no, I don't. You can argue about people on my team. You could say Sandao only uses Lunar Blaster. Well, the thing is, he doesn't. He uses a lot of blasters. He uses the Grim Blaster, he uses the Kraken Blaster. Well, not the Kraken Blaster, the Custom Blaster. Of course he uses the Lunar Blaster. And he's also been using the Custom Blaster and the Disruptor Blaster, which actually we're working together to actually put like different types of comps together. You can also argue about Resbit, but I've already said that it's okay if you do main this type of category because you kind of need a charger on most maps. Arguably, you don't really need one on Black Belly and Flounder Heights. You can actually do without. But on maps like Camp Triggerfish, on maps like Moray, it's a much more favored choice. And you also got people like Wolf on our team who, honestly, Wolf just uses every single weapon, any weapon he feels like. And still does well with it, which is really great. For another example, and this doesn't actually necessarily mean map or mode, there's just certain weapons that completely counter other weapons. First of all, like Sploosh versus Carbon Roller and Kraken Roller. Sploosh gets destroyed by Carbon Roller, Sploosh also gets destroyed by Kraken Roller. There's also Jet Squelcher versus Heavy Splatling Deco, or Heavy Splatling in general. The Heavy Splatling completely counters the Jet Squelcher if you do main the Jet Squelcher, I should say. The Heavy Splatling will just, it rips you apart. Like, if you see a Heavy Splatling, it's probably over, unless if they get the first shots on you. Of course, the Jet Squelcher can be better on some maps compared to the Heavy, like the Jet Squelcher being better on Black Belly. In my opinion, I feel like the Jet Squelcher is better than Black Belly than the Heavy Splatling, and the Heavy Splatling being better on maps like Kelp Dome or something like that, just because of the grates, and of course you can run around literally free, and it's just a really open area basically. Like, I can go on all day with different types of matchups with different weapons and different maps of mode and all that type of stuff. Splatoon is so big with the amount of choice you actually have. There are a lot of different mashups that work. There's a lot of different compositions that work. There's a lot of everything basically. So basically, to conclude this video, honestly, you can do what you want. You can say, I'm going to use this one weapon on every map and I'm going to find a way to make it work on every single map. And you know what? Good on you. Honestly, that can work, depending on your composition to make it work. As Nintendo said, you can make any single weapon depending on the way you use it. But I feel like the better way of using it is, of course, working together as a team. And I'm talking about competitive-wise. I'm not talking about solo queue, because you can have anything in solo queue and you can't actually communicate with anyone in there. So that's where the idea of maining kind of sucks, because, you know, it's just not going to work all the time. But trying to utilize your particular weapon with other people with their different weapons, you know, I feel like there are ways of making it work on every single map, but you just need to find the correct comp that's going to work with it. Like, recently in tournament, I've been using a lot of different weapons. I've been using the Splattershot Pro, I've been using the 96, I've been using the Tri-Slosher, I've been using the Heavy Splatling, I've been using this Hydra Splatling, I've been using the Custom Blaster, I've been using the Jet Squelcher, and from time to time I also use the Wasabi Shot. And I've used this Sploosh, so that's about, I don't know, 9 different picks, I think. There's probably more that I can name, but these are basically my picks, and these are the weapons I'm most comfortable with. If I know a team is gonna run this type of, like, a particular type of weapon or a particular type of comp, I have a bunch of different weapons I have basically a ton of different weapons that can work against it, and my team also has a ton of different, like, comps that can work against it as well, because we are all versatile players. We also know how to play all types of other weapons because we practice with them and we utilize them really well. And I've been noticing this more in competitive play from just the top teams basically in, well, the Western scene. Like, of course, Chimera, of course, which is us. You got Cooper Clan, you got Extermination, you got Komodo. All of these teams have somewhat of a different composition in each map and mode. It may not be like the biggest change, but we all have different weapons that we are comfortable with, and we basically practice as a team to utilize this composition on this map and mode, and this map and mode on this map and mode, basically. So it's just, we have different comps for each map and mode. And this is probably the reason why us top teams have had so much success. So I don't know, this is somewhat of a rant and somewhat of like a motivational video. I don't even know what to call it really, but I think I've gone on enough, so I hope this was a somewhat informative video for you guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, so please like, favorite, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, both in the description below. Do it for both if you're feeling generous. And if you'd like more of these videos, just let me know in the comments as well. I think I already said leave a comment, but it's all good. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you guys in a future video.